Have you ever looked back at your relationship history and noticed a pattern? Maybe it is the emotionally unavailable person you keep falling for. The one who is charming at first and cold when it counts. The one who needs rescuing. The one who makes you feel like you are always chasing, always proving, always not quite enough. Or maybe it is subtler than that. Maybe it is the feeling in every relationship that love is something you have to earn, that closeness is always slightly out of reach, that intimacy brings anxiety rather than peace. And if you are a believer, you have probably prayed about this. You have asked God to send the right person. You have made lists of godly qualities. You have fasted, believed, and waited, and somehow, inexplicably, ended up in the same relational place again. What if the problem is not who you are choosing, but the invisible system inside you that is doing the choosing? What if your heart, as desperately as it wants love, has been trained to seek a specific kind of love, and it is the wrong kind? Today, we are going to name that system. We are going to show you where it came from, and we are going to show you what the Bible says about how it gets healed. Welcome back. If you are new here, this is the Gospel and Psychology channel. I am so glad you found this space. We sit at the intersection of the Word of God and the science of the human mind because both are gifts from the same God and both are needed for the whole life. Season 1 of our videos in our playlist focused on mental health, anxiety, depression, grief, emptiness, toxic thought patterns. If you have not watched it, the full playlist is linked below, and I strongly recommend starting there. Season 2 goes wider into relationships, marriage, parenting, church culture, and some of the boldest conversations we have had yet. And now we are starting with one of the most requested topics since this channel began. Why do you keep choosing the wrong person? Here is what we are covering today. What attachment theory is and why it is the single most important psychological framework for understanding your relationship patterns. The 3 attachment styles and how each one shapes who you are attracted to and why. What repetition compulsion is the psychological mechanism that drives you back to familiar pain. What the Bible reveals about God's design for love and how that design heals broken attachment. Let's go. In the 1950s and 60s, British psychiatrist John Bowlby made a discovery that changed the way psychology understands human relationships forever. He observed that the way a child bonds with their earliest caregivers, primarily parents, creates an internal working model of relationships. A template, a set of unconscious beliefs about 3 fundamental questions. Am I worthy of love? Are other people safe and reliable? Is closeness something to seek or something to fear? This template, called an attachment style, is formed in the first years of life, largely before conscious memory begins, and it operates mostly invisibly in every significant relationship for the rest of your life. Psychologists Mary Ainsworth and later Mary Main expanded Bowlby's work into 3 primary attachment styles: secure, anxious, and avoidant, with a 4th, disorganized, identified later. Understanding which style you carry is not about blaming your parents. It is about understanding the system that has been running your relational choices, often without your knowledge or consent. Proverbs 4 verse 23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." The Hebrew word for heart, leb, encompasses the mind, the will, and the emotional center. Your attachment style lives in your leb. It is what flows into every relationship you enter. Let me walk you through the 3 primary attachment styles, what they look like, where they come from, and crucially, who they are attracted to. Style 1: secure attachment. Securely attached people had caregivers who were consistently present, emotionally attuned, and reliably responsive. They learned, I am worthy of love. Other people are safe. Closeness feels good. In adult relationships, secure people communicate needs clearly, tolerate disagreement without catastrophizing, and choose partners who are emotionally available and consistent. They are attracted to stability because stability is what they know love to feel like. Roughly 50 to 55% of adults have a secure attachment style. If you're watching this video, you may not be one of them, or you may be, but find yourself repeatedly drawn to people who are not. Style 2: anxious attachment. Anxiously attached people had caregivers who were inconsistent, sometimes warm and present, sometimes cold or distracted. The child could never predict which version of the parent would show up. They learned, I have to work hard for love. Love is not guaranteed. I must monitor constantly for signs of rejection. In adult relationships, anxiously attached people are hypervigilant to their partner's mood, terrified of abandonment, and often describe relationships as all-consuming. They feel most alive, most connected when the relationship has intensity and drama, because intensity is what their nervous system learned to associate with love. And who does the anxiously attached person gravitate toward? Almost always the avoidant. Style 3, avoidant attachment. Avoidantly attached people had caregivers who were emotionally unavailable, dismissive of emotional needs, or who communicated directly or indirectly that needing people was weakness. They learned, I must not need too much. Closeness is dangerous. Self-sufficiency is safety. In adult relationships, avoidant people pull back when things get too close. They value independence above intimacy. They feel suffocated by what their anxious partner calls normal closeness. And they are deeply, magnetically attractive to the anxiously attached person because their unavailability feels exactly like the inconsistent love the anxious person spent their childhood trying to earn. The anxious avoidant dance is the most common painful relationship pattern in the world. The anxious person pursues. The avoidant withdraws. The pursuit intensifies. The withdrawal deepens. And both people are completely convinced that if they could just get it right, just love harder, just need less, it would finally work. I have watched this pattern play out in my own life and in the lives of people I care about. And what breaks your heart when you understand the attachment science is this: neither person is broken. Both are doing exactly what their nervous systems were trained to do. They are just trained in ways that are incompatible with the love they both desperately want. Here's the question that haunts people who recognize these patterns. If I know this relationship is painful, why do I keep going back? Why do I keep choosing the same type of person? The answer is a concept Sigmund Freud identified and modern neuroscience has confirmed, which is repetition compulsion. The brain is a pattern completion machine. It seeks the familiar not because the familiar is good, but because the familiar is known. And what is known feels safe to the nervous system even when it is painful. An attachment wound from childhood creates a relational template that the brain recognizes as home and home. However dysfunctional is where the brain wants to return. There is also a deeper psychological drive underneath repetition compulsion, the unconscious hope of a different ending. When you choose someone who resembles the parent who could not love you well, some part of you believes, this time it will be different. This time I will finally get the love I needed. This time I will be enough. But it never works. Not because you are not enough, but because you are trying to heal a childhood wound with an adult relationship. And that is not how wounds heal. The relational pattern that hurts you most is also, paradoxically, the one that feels most like love, because it is the one your nervous system first learned to call love. Breaking it is not a matter of trying harder. It is a matter of learning what love actually feels like when it is safe. Now, here is where the gospel becomes not just comforting, but neurologically transformative. Attachment theory tells us that the template for love is formed in early relationship and that it can be reformed through new relational experience. What psychologists call earned secure attachment, developing a secure style through a corrective relational experience, even in adulthood, is one of the most hopeful findings in all of attachment research. And here is what the Bible has been saying all along. The primary corrective relational experience available to every human being is a relationship with God. Consider what the character of God offers to every attachment wound. To the anxious attachment, a God who is never inconsistent, whose love does not fluctuate with mood or circumstance, who says in Deuteronomy 31 verse 6, He will never leave you nor forsake you. The anxious person's nervous system learned that love is unpredictable. God's love is the most predictable reality in the universe. To the avoidant attachment, a God who pursues, who does not withdraw when you pull back, who says in Hosea 3 verse 1, after Israel's repeated rejection and withdrawal, Go, show your love to your wife again. The avoidant person learned that needing people is weakness. God models a love that is strong enough to keep pursuing even when it is not returned. To the disorganized attachment, a God who is simultaneously powerful and safe, whose love is not dangerous, whose presence does not require you to collapse or fight. 1 John 4 verse 18 says, "Perfect love drives out fear." The disorganized attachment is characterized by a love figure who was also a source of fear. God is the only love that is perfectly safe. Genesis 2 verse 24 describes the marriage covenant as two people becoming one flesh, a complete mutual covenant union. That kind of union is only possible between two people who have enough inner security to give themselves fully without losing themselves. And that security at its deepest level is rooted not in finding the perfect partner, but in being known and loved by a perfect God. The healing of your attachment wounds is not primarily about choosing better. It is about being loved differently by God first, and then by safe people who reflect that love. When God's love becomes your secure base, your nervous system begins to learn what safe love actually feels like. And then, for perhaps the first time, you begin to choose from wholeness rather than from wound. I want to share something briefly. When I first encountered attachment theory, I did what I suspect many of you will do. I immediately recognized my own style, and then I immediately recognized the styles of people I had loved. And the recognition was simultaneously illuminating and devastating, because it meant that the patterns I had experienced, the cycles of pursuit and withdrawal, the relationships that felt intoxicating but never quite safe, the sense that love always had a cost were not random. They were not bad luck. They were not even primarily about the other person. They were about a template I had been carrying since before I had language for it. And the grief of that recognition is real, because it means you cannot fix it by choosing better next time. You cannot think your way out of an attachment wound. You cannot pray a single prayer and have your nervous system's definition of love rewritten overnight. What you can do, what I have done imperfectly over time, is begin the slow work of letting God's love redefine what love feels like. Through honest prayer, through therapy that addresses attachment specifically, through safe relationships that do not confirm the old template, through community that shows you repeatedly that closeness does not have to hurt. It is slow work, but it is the most important work you will ever do, because every relationship you enter from this point forward will be shaped by it. You are not doomed to repeat the pattern. The brain is plastic. Attachment styles can change, and the God who designed you for love has not given up on your capacity to receive it. Here is where to start practically. This week, identify your attachment style. Search for a validated attachment style quiz. The ECRR or the Experiences in Close Relationships scale are the most research-backed. Knowing your style is the beginning of understanding your pattern. Look at your history honestly. Without self-condemnation, look at the last 2 or 3 significant relationships. What did they have in common? What did the person you were attracted to feel like, not look like, but feel like? Familiar, exciting, slightly out of reach? That feeling is data. Seek attachment-informed therapy. Attachment wounds formed in relationship heal in relationship, specifically in the safe, consistent, attuned relationship of a skilled therapist. If you recognize a deeply entrenched pattern, professional support is not optional. It is the most efficient path to change. Let God's love be a daily practice, not a doctrine. Read scriptures about God's love slowly and personally, not as theology to agree with, but as a relational reality to absorb. Let 1 John 4, Romans 8, and Zephaniah 3:17 become the new data your nervous system receives about what love is. Do not date your way to healing. The most common mistake people make is trying to find the right person before doing the inner work. The right person met before your attachment wounds are addressed will still trigger the old pattern. Healing first, choosing second. If you want to dive deeper into how to apply these psychological tools to your daily prayer life, I've put together a complete 3-0 day guide. You can find the link in the pinned comment below to grab your copy. And if this video helped you, if it named something you have been living with but could not explain, I want to ask you to do one thing. Leave a comment below with your attachment style: anxious, avoidant, or secure. Just name it. You do not have to explain anything. Just name it. Because naming it publicly is the first act of choosing something different. If this video helped you, share it, especially with someone who keeps finding themselves in the same painful relationship cycle. This might be the first time they understand why. Subscribe. Season 2 is going wider and deeper than anything we have done before. Relationships, marriage, parenting, church culture, and more. You do not want to miss it. Check out the Season 1 playlist if relationships are rooted in mental health. Season 1 is the foundation. Everything we covered there feeds directly into what we are building now. Next, we are going to tackle how to build emotional resilience the way Jesus taught it. We are going to look at the specific practices Jesus modeled, not just preached, for building a life that bends without breaking. It is going to be one of the most practically powerful videos on this channel. Until then, be gentle with yourself about the patterns you have recognized today. They were never your fault, and they are not your future. God bless you. I'll see you in the next one.